What is the gut microbiome test? Well, before we talk about the test, let's actually understand what the gut microbiome is. So in our gut, we have bacteria. According to some research, we actually have one bacteria for every one cell we have in our body. So around 13 billion bacteria that are living in our gut. Now it's 95% bacteria. It's not only bacteria there are viruses, there are fungi, there's some helminths, there's some types of worms that live in the gut. But 95% of it is actually bacteria. Now, these bacteria don't live there for free. They actually pay rent. You can imagine like you have an apartment with roommates, and every roommate has a job. One roommate would wash the dishes, one roommate would, cook the food, one roommate would take out the trash. Now imagine the roommate that's taking out the trash, he went on vacation and he didn't come back. Now what? Now you have a pile of trash in the middle of your living room. There's a problem. So that's exactly is the function of our microbiome. Okay, there are no good bacteria or bad bacteria. There are bacteria that are working together to provide us certain functions, to bolster our immunity, to help us be more tolerant towards certain foods, to produce certain metabolites like short-chain fatty acids and even vitamins that our body cannot produce on its own, and other functions as well, like forming stool, for example, and making sure we're not constipated or diuretic. Okay, now the body and the bacteria have a very intricate layers of communications between them, so that it's like a second genome or an organ we have in our gut that is comprised entirely out of bacteria. Now, whenever this organ is becoming disbalanced or disturbed, we are starting to get symptoms like diarrhea, constipation, heartburn, ulcers, and sometimes even colorectal cancers. Now, what is the gut microbiome test? The gut microbiome test is like a blood test for the gut. It tells us exactly which bacteria are found in our gut and at what abundance. So like you would see on your blood test, there would be like a range, and a certain amount would be placed within that range. Exactly, it would happen with the microbiome test, because we already know what bacteria are normally found in an Indian gut, because we are an Indian company and we've sequenced more than 3,000 samples till this date. So we have a good grip of what a normal microbiome would look like. This test is a genomic sequencing test, which means that we take a piece of fecal matter, we take out the DNA out of it, and we read that DNA, and this DNA provides us very accurate information about the relative abundance of certain bacteria in your gut. We then can start using the information from the test to manipulate your microbiome back into normality, back into balance, okay? And we do this in two methods. In prebiotics, which is basically the live bacteria that we know are missing from your gut, which we can actually introduce back into your gut through supplementations or for certain foods, or with prebiotics, which is basically the food for different bacteria that we want to encourage to grow more than their counterparts. We can also use this information to disrecommend certain foods for you that contain foods for bacteria that are found in a higher than normal relative abundance. So basically we're going to starve the bacteria that we have too much of. And by those three interventions, we would be able to manipulate your microbiome back into normality, reduce or eliminate your symptoms completely, enable a routine that makes sense for you. You deserve to live a healthy life just like any other person. And in some cases, you will even be able to have certain foods that you were not able to have before, that caused you symptoms before, because now your microbiome would actually be robust enough to deal with those foods as they come in.